Our final speaker is well known to the Cherish Life family, spoken at a few of our events, March for Life. She is a former Senator of Queensland, but now you can catch her at 7 p.m. on Sky News, and that is called, is it Sunday with Stoker? Fantastic. Of course, I'm talking about Amanda Stoker. Amanda, would you mind coming up for us?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that wonderful, warm welcome. It is a joy to be with you, and I'm so pleased to still be invited to be a part of this special day, even in this new phase of life. I want to thank you all for your courage and for your persistence. I know sometimes it feels like culture is against us, but when you know there is something that is true, you can't help but do the right thing. And I just want to thank you for having the courage to stand for what you know to be right in a culture that can sometimes not want to hear it. You know, this nation, this country that I love so much, talks a lot about human rights. We sign international treaties that purport to protect them. We pass legislation that says it's going to provide charters to protect the human rights of all. We talk a lot about equality, about how everyone in this country should be treated as equal before the law in every possible way. I agree with that principle very much. We set up commissions and tribunals and government bodies, and we appoint people to posts to police the way in which we go about protecting human rights. And yet, an adult who has voluntarily engaged in the behaviour necessary to create a baby has human rights, but the child they create does not. We talk about protecting the vulnerable, like minority racial groups or people in our community who might not have mastery of the English language. We even talk about protecting people who might be vulnerable because their sexuality isn't traditional. But we ignore over and over and over again the human rights of our aged people. We ignore the human rights of people with disabilities. And we ignore the human rights of unborn children, even those who, say at 37 weeks of age, who are healthy, but who are unwanted. And we allow the people who are meant to love and protect them to arbitrarily end their life. Yeah, we talk a lot about human rights in this country, and there's a reason we shouldn't get suckered in, because it's a bit like George Orwell's Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. We cannot talk about the equal rights of women in this society, at work and in their pay, when we know women are disproportionately killed by their own parents without even a chance at life. How can we say that we defend women from domestic violence, from being mistreated in our society, and yet ignore that abortion coercion is a proven and known form of domestic control and violence? And how can anyone say that they are pro-choice when, should they be faced with an unplanned or unexpected pregnancy, a woman is not really offered choice. She doesn't get offered the care and support of the community to help deliver and perhaps offer their healthy, wonderful child for adoption. She doesn't get offered help to offer a healthy child for adoption. She doesn't get offered support to build the skills and resources necessary to raise a child. And she doesn't even get counselling. What she gets is shoehorned into one option. Now, when you think about it, if we put the historical way in which these labels are understood to one side, this gathering, we are actually pro-choice. We're pro a real choice, a choice to bring a human being into this world. Maybe it wasn't our plan, but you know, sometimes the curveballs life throws at us are the biggest blessings of all. And so maybe we should start telling people we're pro-choice, maybe not in the way that has historically been understood. We're pro-choice because we're pro-real choice. Real choice for families and women. As most of you know, I'm a proud mum, a mum of 3 girls, and my husband and I love them so very much. There's so many parents in this group, and I know you'd all feel the same way about the people in your family. But it means I was struck by a really quite large body of evidence that says a baby's cry affects a woman in a physiological, hardwired way that's really difficult to describe. But mothers, you'll know what I'm talking about. Nothing messes with your head more than the sound of a child, particularly your child, crying out for you and needing your help and your care. This has been proven across cultures, across nations, and even across a pretty long period of time. And yet, babies like little Jessica Jane from the Northern Territory, 37 weeks old, was born alive, healthy, and cried non-stop in desperation for 1 hour and 20 minutes before she died. The harm that must do to a mother hearing it is so difficult to contemplate. The harm that must do to the midwives and other staff who have this as part of their work environment is extraordinary. It's funny how we can be so heavy-handed and so protective of safety in the workplace in every other sphere, but not for these women. Jessica Jane was denied medical care. She was denied pain relief. She didn't get so much as a hug. And as Joe and Matt have said already, this happens a little over once a week. It shouldn't be a controversial thing for us to say, this is not okay. Say it with me, this is not okay. This is not okay. And human rights don't mean very much if they don't apply to all of us. Human rights don't mean very much if they don't apply to people who can't speak for themselves. So, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being people prepared to show up and vote with your feet to show people who work in this beautiful building that there's something beautiful in every human life. Thank you for doing it in peace. Thank you for standing for truth. Thank you for showing compassion to those who might not yet share our view, in the hope that over time, life will show them the beauty of life, so that they might one day be among our number. And thank you so much for, in your own small way, by being here, making our society a little bit fairer, a little bit more equal, and a little bit more compassionate. For those of you who've seen me speak at this before, forgive me for finishing on the same way that I so often do. But I finish with this because it's something that I deeply believe. It's something that motivated a big part of my parliamentary service, and I know it's something that motivates you to be here too. The measure of a society is how it treats those people who can't stand up for and who can't speak for themselves. Thank you for helping to improve the measure of this society. Cheers. Thank you so much.